Good evening, weather and climate students. This is Dr. Padgett. It's been an eventful couple of weeks, to say the very least. We had the tornado, which was interesting because obviously it gave us something to look at that's closely related to the course content. And then, of course, we had COVID-19 bump us into this online format. So I just want to give you an update about moving forward and talk about a few things in terms of assignments. So I'm going to share my screen here and get into the most recent assignment that was turned in, which was the U.S. City Climagraph's map assignment. And so I'm primarily speaking to Collins, Hill, and Jordan, although everyone was required to do this assignment. I took a look at your maps, and for the most part, you did a pretty good job. Some of you all did good things that others didn't, and others did good things that others didn't. So, for example, I believe this is Jordan's map. Notice she did include the latitude and longitude for each city, I believe, which is good, but probably needed a little improvement in terms of the Köppen climate classifications and the descriptions. So, but at least she had the climate, the latitude and longitude here, and she's got the elevation here. Again, try to stay consistent. Notice here we have latitude and longitude for Las Vegas in decimal degrees, and then here we have it in, okay. Anyway, this is mostly fine. You've got a little glitch here. Norfolk is in Canada somehow, and then we've got Denver, Colorado, also in Canada. So there's a couple of things you might want to look at there in terms of review. Then I looked at Ray Hill's maps, or map. Now, Ray did a really good job in terms of his climate descriptions, and also describing how some of the climate controls affect climate. So the only thing that was lacking to some degree in all of these was somewhat of a quantitative description of the climagraphs themselves. Didn't really see that a whole lot. I see a lot of qualitative data, which was good. Köppen climate classifications, okay. I'm going to look further to see if that 5-step Köppen process is in your papers, but I'll talk about that more later on. And last but certainly not least, let's look at Brianna's map. And I think, like I said, you all did a really good job with these, considering that your backs were pretty much up against the wall time-wise. Again, good description here. Now, Brianna, interesting enough, as you can see, really did a good job of describing the quantitative data that we can see in these climagraphs. So now that you're moving on to working on the draft of the group paper, so we're getting into the second draft of the group paper now. The good thing is that teamwork makes the dream work. And so among the three of you all can probably put together a really, really good term paper. And so as you can see here, under the second draft of the term paper for the US cities, it says here for the second draft of the group term paper, you must incorporate the data you collected for all 6 cities. So essentially you will be completing the Climagraphs with methodology. So again, you'll take the Climagraphs that you created and put them into this methodology section. Also, what should be in that methodology section is that 5-step method that you use to get the Köppen climate classifications for each city. And again, you'll do all 6 cities. You got the data. You may as well do all 6 of them, even though there's only, well, 4 of you all. So again, you should have that Köppen climate methodology in there, each step plainly spelled out. And then your results is a comparison amongst the climagraphs. And if I were you, I would look at extremes. Which one had the widest temperature range? Which one had the most narrow temperature range? Which one had the highest average temperature versus the lowest? What was the perhaps average temperature amongst these cities? When you create your map, and now you have maps because you created them using story maps. You can either make maps with all those cities so that we can see how close they are in terms of their latitude. So you should have obviously maps of each city individually, but also a smaller scale map of the national scope of these cities, where they're located relative to latitude. And so when you start to write your comparisons and get into some of the nuances of the differences in terms of the Climagraph shapes, then you can really start to flesh those differences out in your essay. Okay, so just also in terms of the first draft of the term paper, I did have some comments about it. Even though you did a relatively good job from what I saw, but pulling that up here, actually, okay, so here it is. So good job for the most part, good graphics here. Obviously, you're gonna have to add the other cities, first and last names here. And I know one day we wish to become, don't be like Oprah, or when you said Kobe, late Kobe Bryant, we know who that was. Or Aretha, we know who Aretha, but until then, first and last names. These, I think I've already explained to you what you need to do with the graphics in these sections. Of course, you will not have these climagraphs here. You can take those out altogether because you have climagraph data now that you created using raw data. Try to get I know this is a group paper, but at some point you're gonna have to get together and get all this in the same font and be consistent in terms of your graphics and your maps. Make sure that they're all from the same source. As a matter of fact, you may as well create the graphs using ArcGIS Online. I might show you how to make really good maps with that program later, or you can just go into your story map and just make large and small scale maps again. So for the most part, this looks okay. Again, numbers and captions for your figures. And I see you're starting to do some comparisons here in this paper, but of course you'll do that with the climagraphs you created. So in general, Good job. That was a somewhat challenging assignment, obviously. And given the fact that you all have probably not used ArcGIS, maybe Ray has, I don't know. Good job, good job, good job. Okay, so now I'm going to look at the other assignment, and that is the draft term paper for the JL and Thomas. So obviously we had some interesting things happen this semester with this project. But obviously you're going to have to, we're going to have to make some adjustments. Unfortunately, for the second year in a row, Kids and Kites Day has been postponed for obvious reasons. Thomas and Ballard, I will be working with you very closely on this project. In spite of everything, I know it's going to be a challenge. So again, the main objective here is to create a lesson plan that could be used at a kite festival. Be creative, be bold. I've shared with you some examples that are in the course on the eLearn page. So you should have, in your first draft, I think you kind of started doing a literature review, but you need to clean that up. The background section, again, you had the content. The content was there, but you really need to clean it up and get it into this format. So clean it up, get into this format. Your literature review, going back to that, you should have in-text citations at your literature review, just exploring different applications of AEROKATS and GLOBE in scientific inquiry at the K through 12 level. There's lots of information out there. There's lots of examples out there, but we're specifically looking at those that are focused upon closing the racial STEM gap, the racial science, technology, engineering, and math gap. And so study area description, primarily, again, look at the status of science, technology, engineering, and math in Metro Public Schools. Also, you have maps of the Kite Festival location, and we'll talk about maybe some alternate spots. That Bicentennial Mall area, personally, I don't think it's the best location. The soccer fields out off of Rosa Parks near the Rhodes Golf Course, I think is a much better place. There's no trees. It's a larger place. But if you all can think of some other places that are in the city within easy distance. Oh, and I forgot that soccer field site is very close to Cumberland View. You know, we really wanted to get some of those kids from Cumberland View involved. And, you know, I mean, even though it doesn't seem as if Farmers Market is that much farther away, it's definitely farther away than when those soccer fields are, where those kids, you'd almost literally walk over there. Well, not really, but perhaps, you know. So look up some lesson plans. You might even Google GLOBE lesson plans or AEROKATS lesson plans. There might be some out there. Again, I'll be very hands-on. I'll help you out. But I do want you to at least make an attempt between now and next week, and then we'll see where we'll go from there. So unfortunately, there will not be an implementation. So your results section you might speculate on what should happen. Here's what we would like to have happen in an ideal situation outside with the kids and these kites. You're going to have to get in AEROKATS and all these other things. And obviously, we're going to have to also incorporate the globe weather data curriculum in here also, and I'll talk to you about that more later. Just be patient. This is not going to be an easy term paper to write, but there's two of you, and I'm sure we can get through it. And I'll be very hands-on. But at the end of the day, what you're doing, nobody else is doing. Nobody else is doing this. I can promise you that. So at the end of the day, Ballard and Thomas, this is something that you can carry forward from here as an example of something you did as a unique piece of research. Trust me, nobody's doing this. We're the only people doing this. By this, I mean developing curriculum using AEROKATS for kite festivals, specifically kite festivals in African-American communities. That's what we're going to start. We're an HBCU. That's what we do. Okay, so again, now for everybody, getting back to where we are with the course. So we're not really going to be on this weekly lecture format, obviously, but just pay attention to the calendar. That's where things will be posted. Again, this next week or so, we really want to get into these term papers. If we can get these term papers in reasonably good shape by the 1st of April, it should be smooth sailing for the last month of the course, even though you'll be working on other things. I'm going to try to get us some storm spotter training. There's actually online storm spotter training. I don't know why I didn't think of this before. And actually the class was tonight, Thursday night, I think it was, or Wednesday, and we could have done it, and I just didn't know. But hopefully they'll have other classes. I mean, they pretty much need to have other classes considering what happened a couple of weeks ago. So the good thing is that you all can, do the training online at your own leisure, and you'll be a certified storm spotter afterwards. So I'm really hoping that there are more classes, at least before the end of the semester. Fingers crossed. Okay, last thing. So I have your midterm exams. I have a whole lot of other things. I've tried to keep up with grading a bit. Everybody's doing fine so far. You have until April 18th to decide whether or not you want to drop the class. But if you've been turning in the work, most of you all have been turning in the work. You've been doing the term paper drafts. The term paper should be fine. You turn in the assignments. There will be more assignments. We'll have a little kind of not a break, but working on the term paper draft is not nearly as intense as the assignments because you're working in groups. So you have 2 people in one group, 4 people in another group. Teamwork makes the dream work. But by and large, if you're wondering, well, where do I stand? From what I can see, and I've been doing this for 25 years and I understand student trajectory, everybody's going to be okay. I will work very hard and diligently to get caught up with these grading. This is what I've been doing in the meantime is kind of reformatting these classes in the online format. And so that took a little bit of time away, along with some other things I've been working on in terms of research as usual. If you have any questions, please email me, reach out. Don't be shy. I know that some of you all might have been not evicted, but asked to leave the dorms. If there's anything that you need, email me. Tennessee State University has lots of resources that are available to students that have been going through the tornado and COVID-19 and whatever else you're going through at this time. This is a very unique time in our history. This has never happened before. So it's something that you can tell your children about. You went through COVID-19 in 2020. Again, if you need any kind of help or have any questions, about any of the assignments, let me know. I'm here, I'm in town, not going anywhere till probably May. And that's very unusual. So I'm right here, I'm in Nashville. We might try to do some things with the kites on campus. We'll see. I don't know what's going to happen. Nobody knows. They even locked us out of the campus, meaning the faculty. So we'll see. Anyway, be safe. Keep working. Think, work, serve.